Hey there, YouTubes. So, when we're discussing gender, sometimes it helps put things in perspective if we use points to mark our scale. Two commonly acknowledged pop cultural icons that I usually use to note points on a gender spectrum is Barbie and G.I. Joe. Because most Americans, if not many of my international viewers, would be able to acknowledge those as Barbie representing the feminine end of the gender spectrum and G.I. Joe representing the masculine end. Though, I have to admit, a couple of years ago I had done a video and I had stated Barbie as my feminine representation of the gender spectrum, and I had somebody who I actually did know in real life get rather pissed off about this. Barbie has had her controversy about the sheer fact that her body is completely out of whack and that if a woman was really to be shaped like Barbie, she would not be able to walk. But I don't think people give Barbie enough credit, given Barbie's a fictional character. But she has been everything from an astronaut to a zoologist. Well, maybe not quite a zoologist, but she's worked in zoology at SeaWorld. And she has been around for 55 years. She has had a minimum of 73 jobs. Of those 73 jobs, she would need a minimum of 948.5 hours of extra training beyond her high school diploma. This includes training for yoga instruction, personal trainers, CPR, first aid, swim coach, rescue swimming instruction. She would also need a minimum of 8 associate degrees. And this, again, varies upon what type of degree you get, but Barbie has been everything from a nurse to a firefighter. Most of those require a minimum of 2 years of extra education, depending on what program you go with and where you intend to work. For her careers, she would require 15 bachelor's degrees. A lot of those are bachelors of science, bachelors of education, but they also range from engineering, nursing, architectural. Heck, she's even got an automotive degree in there to cover her time with NASCAR. For her 73 career, she would require 6 master's degrees. Most of these are in law. 3 officer candidate schools, because she was an Army officer, a Navy officer, and a Marine Corps officer. She would also have to completed the military's jump school, as well as advanced fighter pilot training. And, you know, for being 55 years old and having 8 associate degrees, 15 bachelor's degrees, 6 master's degrees, and 3 officer candidate schools, I'd say she's doing pretty well for herself. She has been an aerobics instructor, an art teacher, a dance teacher, an elementary school teacher multiple times, a sign language teacher, a Spanish teacher, a student teacher, you know, when she's working her way toward one of her many degrees, student teacher, a swim teacher, special education teacher, a yoga instructor, a gymnastics coach, a football coach. She's been a dentist, a doctor, a pediatrician, a nurse, a surgeon, a veterinarian. She's been a paratrooper. She's been a U.S. Army officer, a U.S. Air Force jet pilot. She has been a specialist U.S. Air Force jet pilot. She was in the Thunderbirds, apparently. U.S. Marine Corps officer, U.S. Navy petty officer. She has been an ambassador. She has been a U.S. president. She's been a presidential candidate. She's been a U.S. UNICEF summit diplomat. She's been Chancellor of Germany. Talk about giving Angela Merkel a run for her money. She has been a firefighter, a lifeguard, a police officer, a Canadian Mountie. She has been an architect. She's been an astronaut 3 times at least. And that requires anything from military test pilot training to a bachelor's degree, depending on which era of astronaut you're being. She has been a computer engineer, a paleontologist. She has worked as a SeaWorld trainer. She has been a pilot, a bus driver, a flight attendant, NASCAR driver, a stewardess, going back to her days in the 1960s. She's been a tour guide. In Toy Story 2, she was a tour guide. She's been an artist, a ballerina, a chef, a designer, a fashion model, most of her career. That's what she's done on the side, probably to help pay for all of her degrees. A hairdresser, a makeup artist, a movie actress in multiple movies. An Olympic gymnast, a pet stylist, a photographer, a pop singer, at least twice, a TV chef, at least once, a wedding stylist, a business executive, at least 4 times. She has owned her own cafe. She's been a secretary. She's also worked as a cashier for a candy store. She's been a waitress. She's been a babysitter. She's been a cat burglar. Don't ask. That was some of her darker times. She's been a cheerleader at least 3 times. She's been a cowgirl. She has been DC Comics superheroes and villains, perhaps with her acting career. She has worked for McDonald's. Again, that probably helped her get through college. She has been a news anchor. She has been several different princesses. She's been a scuba diver. She has worked at a soda fountain, again, getting through college. She has been an American Beauty pageant girl 3 times. She's been a street rapper. You know, we all gotta get through college, and you know, maybe she really enjoyed it. She's been a movie star, looks like a minimum of 5 times, and she has been in Ocean Treasure Explorer once. Really? Barbie's not that good of a representation of the feminine end of the gender spectrum? Beyond all this, she has maintained a good relationship with her partner, Ken, though I know they did have their rocky times, but they were able to work things out. She has helped raise her siblings and her own kids. So, you know, Barbie, you go, girl. And that is why Barbie is generally my staple, generally my cultural reference point on the gender spectrum. People who do not respect Barbie do not respect a modern woman's career possibilities. As for G.I. Joe, well, G.I. Joe's the all-American hero. And it's well worth saying that most guys who go into the special forces tend to have some of the highest scores on the military entrance exams. Not to mention, most special operators or special forces individuals, as G.I. Joe has been at numerous times, though G.I. Joe himself has been an astronaut, he's been officers, he's been an enlisted man. He has served in every place and rank in the military. Most of those guys are some of the best of the best. They are some of the strongest, some of the smartest, some of the most disciplined individuals. And while I'll admit probably G.I. Joe is not as good of a representation of a modern American man, or a modern man on Earth, as Barbie is of a modern American woman, or a modern woman on Earth, that is why I use those 2 cultural reference points. You know, G.I. Joe kicks butt. And Barbie, well, don't overlook Barbie. Peace out, YouTubes.